Just before we begin, if we had a mega church or a huge church hall or something like that, we could do it in the church hall, but we have to have this orientation meeting for the first communion class, and we can't fit all of you in the library anyway. So the bishop said as long as we remove the Blessed Sacrament, you can watch the movie now. And then if you don't have really good eyes, then just move up. And then when we have the movies, it's going to be on a small screen. So I'd recommend you move up because that's all we have. We can't make it any bigger. And then just before we start recording, so no, and then this is my twin brother. And then many of you knew my mother. So we started out in a house in Granada Hills. We had no church, and then we rented the house, but we turned it into a chapel. And we had weekday masses there and one Sunday mass. And of course, we outgrew it right away. And then the archdiocese sent one of the auxiliary bishops wanted to close it down, but the head of the zoning commission said, "My best friend's father goes to that little church. Leave him alone." This was Ash Wednesday, 1989. I prayed for snow, and then we had a snowman. And then in December 8th, 1989, we dedicated the chapel to Queen of Angels, to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. The singing nuns were there. And then this is 1993. 1993, we found this building. There was a house next door where our parking lot is, and then, or the vacant land, and here's Queen of Angels, okay? And then this is what Queen of Angels looked like. See the light-colored pews, they were turned that way. That's the sanctuary. The preacher preached in that little place. And that's the sanctuary. And behind that, there was a little swimming pool. That's where they did the baptisms. We found a dead mouse in there. Here's the library, what it was like back then. And then over the years, if you could pause this one. I knew we needed a church, so I went to Spokane and Omaha, and then we collected the altar that we have now at Queen of Angels. That was from Omaha. And then the statues of Our Lady of Lourdes, St. Joseph, came from Spokane. The confessional came from Omaha. The kneelers came from Omaha. And many of the, when it was time to get a church, we had everything we needed, baptismal font, everything. So this is what Queen of Angels, when we started having it put together, we brought everything here and then we had to put it together and change us into a Catholic church. And that's what our sanctuary used to look like. And then that's Ed Carpenter, the foreman. And that's Matt Hauser. He took off of work and he helped put everything together. And my cousin, Sister Mary Cabrini from Phoenix. And then my mother, she even helped paint to stain these pews. And then my mother made the greatest meals, so the workers really were happy about that. That's Milt Nelson. The Protestants did leave something in the church. This is our collection basket. Pretty hefty. Okay, and this is 1993. The bishop blessed the church, June 4th. And then Father Casimir is there. But even then, Queen of Angels was too crowded. See people outside in front of the church. And then we'll talk about this old house later. And that's my first Mass at Queen of Angels. The servers. And then in a few years, 4 years later, we paid it off. That's burning the mortgage. Okay, and then this is a Northridge earthquake. This is what the statue of St. Joseph looked like before the earthquake, and then that's what happened. And this is Our Lady of Lourdes, and this is what happened to her. And then Jim Hewlett, he worked for the studios. He agreed, asked if he could fix it. And it's a wonderful job that he did. You'll see one after the other. But how badly she was damaged. And that's her today. And then the St. Anthony statue we have in the back of the church. Okay, before he was holding the infant Jesus, but now we just have his head and his legs, and that's about it. So now he's just holding the book. If you look behind you, yeah. Okay. Okay, this house next door, the insurance company would not give us fire insurance because there was electricity going into this house, and it was a fire hazard. So, and also Dr. Tan, who owned the hospital and then this building and the parking lot and the other building next to it, every Sunday morning, first of all, he wanted to buy our church and bulldoze it and use it for something, the land. So we beat him to it, and then he became an enemy. So every Sunday morning, just before Mass, all the gates to the parking lots were locked. And then after all the Masses were done, then they were opened up again. So first we had to get rid of this house, and then we also had to get use of the parking lot because the church didn't come with the parking lot. So you'll see what happens. So the earthquake destroyed, red tagged the house next door, and then he had that other empty lot. There used to be a house there, and that was his property, and that was destroyed. And then ever after that, the gates were left open for parking. Here's the library. It was a lot worse than this, but... Okay, in Christmas, for years, first 5 years in Los Angeles, we had to say Mass in hotels, and I'd have Mass in Phoenix, LA, and San Diego. And then we finally have a church, so now we have Mass. And then, of course, there's people outdoors because there's too many people. And then Newhall Ice donated about a ton of snow every Christmas. And it was really, really nice. Then it got new management, but we were the only place in Los Angeles with snow on Christmas. And then the Christmas choir. Okay, we really wanted to have a school at Queen of Angels, but the parishioners we all lived so far apart, and so the property's so expensive. So a number of the families were homeschooling, and that's the best thing. The public schools are so bad. The Vatican II schools are teaching heresy. So there were a lot of outings. Every few months we would go somewhere, do something with the parents and the kids. And then later you'll see we did start a school. So this is in Palmdale, SR 71s. And the San Fernando Mission. And then this was someone's home. Okay, and then so 2017 to 21, we did have a building, and we also had enough students that lived close enough. So in Roseman, we had Father Gerardo and I taught for 4 years. And then this isn't all of our parish activities, but this is some of them. So these are All Saints Day parties at the rectory. You know, the 4-car garage we have really works out for parties and stuff. And here's a piñata. And then we also have St. Nicholas parties. So those are at Roseman now, and we hope your kids can come to that. There's the Easter egg hunt across the street at the park. This is the only picture we have of the catechism camp, but that's a really special occasion. We have 4 sisters and then teachers for each group of kids and teenagers. And there's other servers outings, but this is just one of them. Okay, and this is a magic show at the park. Now we have things for adults too. Okay, just getting ready for a football game at the rectory. And then a basketball game. But we look pretty much alike. Identical twins. Yeah. Okay, I've visited probably 10 different prisons and jails. This is in San Quentin, so this person's on death row, and the sisters were corresponding with them, but then and the sisters began to visit him, so we still do that, and we keep him in our prayers. And then for several years, Sister Mary Bridget taught our First Communion class. So again, Okay, I was asked to offer Mass in Australia. In Western Australia, there's several groups of traditional Catholics. So, yeah, it was wonderful to meet those people and to offer Mass for them, and then even scuba dive over there too. But it looks like me, but that's Father Francisco. I didn't get a picture with a kangaroo or Joey, so it looks pretty good, don't it? Okay, but that's really me. So they don't have a church, so we had Mass in a hall. And then this is Patrick Henry Almlor. He was originally from California. He wrote a book questioning the validity of the new Mass in English, and that's how our family found out about the changes in the church. He was very, very brave, a layman who stood up and did something, and all his writings are excellent. He's a very good Catholic. He passed away, God rest his soul, but a very good Catholic, humble and really well versed in the faith, and just a good example. Here's a baptism in Australia, and then the First Holy Communion. Okay, 1999, okay, we paid off Queen of Angels, and now we needed to get a rectory. So this was, we looked for prayed real hard, and looked for 6 months, and then we found property, 2.5 acres with a 4-car garage, a modular home for $175,000. And it was purchased, it had gone into foreclosure, and you had to have a real low income to qualify because a nonprofit group bought it. So it was easy to prove that. And it worked out really well. It's about halfway between both of our present churches. Okay, here's that 4-car garage, but there's a lot we can do and have done with that. And then it's catechism camp in the summer. We say Mass there because there's so many 100 people. So, and then of course there's Snow-Capped Mountains. It snows up there. And then here's my basketball court, and we use this field for soccer and football. And then they have horses there. We've got chickens and a garden and everything. So, and then we purchased, and then a few years later, this is All Saints Day party. Then we burning the mortgage for that. And this was 10 years ago. And we were supposed to have our celebration here in the slideshow over there, but then this tropical storm, hurricane occurred, so that's why we're watching it now. They're great young people. And that's, again, one of my cousins, Sister Mary Cabrini, a Dominican nun from Phoenix. And then this is Sister Veronica. She just passed away. She had been a nun for 72 years. And she came here almost every Sunday when she could to attend the Latin Mass. The sister of St. Joseph Carondelet. Okay, as we know from the beginning, Queen of Angels was too small, so we kept praying for a larger church, and then we didn't find anything. We kept saving money and just praying. And then in 2015, we found this church. One of our parishioners in Roseman has a hardware store 2 blocks away from this. And this originally was a Catholic church, and then then they built another church, and then the Freemasons bought this and made it into a lodge, and they boarded up all the windows and doors except for one door, and then they there's a bell, church bell, and then they tied the bottom of the bell tower rope into a hangman's noose, and it was just a real creepy place. But anyway, they wanted to move to Lancaster, so they told Eric, you got this hardware store close by. You want to buy this building? And he says, how much is it? It's like $145,000 or something like that. And he goes, but you're my friend. I'll sell it to you for $100,000. And then there's a house involved. And then there's a house on the property, and then we bought some land. So now there's about 2/3 of an acre. But for $100,000, it worked out. There's a lot of work we have to do, but this is how it looks now. Okay, go ahead. The altar came from South Milwaukee, St. Adalbert's Church, and I was looking, and I found it. It was $30,000, and then Father Francisco, I asked him to help me, and he found it for $10,000, and we offered $10,000. That's what we got it, and it cost about $10,000 to transport it and put it up and everything. But it's out of all of our CMRI chapels, this is the most beautiful altar, and so here's that house next door, but it works out well because we have a rectory. It's 65 miles from here. And then the Masons cut off the cross here, and then they put that G and compass all around the bell tower. So we took that off and then put the cross back on there, and we use the bell. And it helped with the overloading at Queen of Angels because there's a lot of people from Antelope Valley and Roseman and that area. So, and then we kept praying for a larger church. So when we found the place, I brought a tape measure because I knew the dimensions here, and it was larger. So, okay, this is when Father Francisco and some of the priests came with the bishop to bless the church. This is Father Gerardo. He was in Colorado at the time, but he was one of the few priests who came. So there he's singing with Father Troff and Father Borja, and then Reverend Mother and Sister Mary Bridget. And then during the bishop's sermon, he said he was afraid to say, I'm kind of afraid to say this, but I don't want to have a division between Queen of Angels and Immaculate Heart of Mary. We should be able to work together and then not be jealous or do any kind of conflict. And that's the way it has to be, that we're a spiritual family, and then there's one church and another church. Now we have two priests. It's just. But we started out, I was the only priest with both churches. And then here's Father Gerardo again. So Queen of Angels, we really needed a cry room, but we don't have one. That's why we use the library. But there, God did provide us with a cry room here. And then we needed a choir loft too, and it also takes a lot more, makes more seating available. So we have a choir loft too. It's small. Both of them are small, but it's adequate. It works. And of course we have the Last Supper here, the Sacred Heart of Jesus, Immaculate Heart of Mary, Infant of Prague, and St. Dominic Savio. And the reason we have St. Dominic Savio, we worked on the church, and then because of the city and county and the state, somebody complained, and then everything was on a standstill for like 3 months. And then we prayed. We had several 2-foot statues, so we prayed to St. Philomena, and we had a 2-foot statue, and we said, if you can get through this red tape, then your statue's going to go right here. And it came and went, and it wasn't God's will. Okay, and then we had a 2-foot guardian angel statue. It says, okay, now it's your turn. Okay, if you do your job, then your statue's going to be there. And then that came and went. And then told St. Thomas Salvi, okay, you have to get this done. And then it did. We got things completed. And we went through the red tape. This statue, Merida found that in Holland. It's from a church in Europe. It's just made in Spain in 1900. And the Spanish statues are the most beautiful in the world. So this is a stunning statue, and it fits perfectly in the niche. The original altar, when it was in Milwaukee, had a smaller statue on a little pedestal. It wasn't built for a big statue. I mean, it was built for a big statue, but they only had a smaller statue. But Our Lady found this for us. And it was undamaged when it came. Okay, and then this came from an orphanage in Cincinnati. It's a miraculous statue of St. Joseph. After the earthquake, then we put him in the church here. And then Vicente found this at St. Vincent de Paul in downtown L.A. We're looking for another statue in the back of church. And he goes, "Here, there's a statue of St. Anthony." And then I said, "Really?" And then he showed it to me. And he goes, "How much is it?" He goes, "Like less than $200. So anyway, it's like the Stations of the Cross here at Queen of Angels, and of the most beautiful statues made in America. They're made by the DePrato Company. They were in New York and Chicago. And so this is a DePrato statue. It's about 6 feet tall, and he's got glass eyes. And statues, people who are selling statues, it's usually at least $1,000 per foot, at least, And then the DePratos they're a lot more than that. So, but it worked out perfect timing. And then now the Stations of the Cross, the bishop gave me these pictures, but the walls in that church are adobe. So those bricks are made of mud and straw. So you can't have something heavy hanging from that. So what do you do? So anyway, one of the parishioners, Filipino man, worked with wood, and he hand carved each one. But it's made like almost a balsa wood. It's so light. And sometimes I take it off the wall, and I said, aren't these beautiful? And I pretend that it's really heavy, and I give it to them. Okay, here's the cry room. The choir loft. So we're all under Mary's mantle. Okay, and then my twin brother has the same picture. It's at St. Peter's Basilica, the Vatican, the Holy Ghost. So he's got that in his choir loft too. Okay, now can we do Father Francisco's? Is that ready to go? Or not? Okay, so this will be quick. It's funny, he was saying, you got so many pictures, he's got fewer slides but more pictures. I mean, it's almost an equal number of pictures, but he's got 5 or 6 pictures on each slide. Can you view it as a slideshow? And then you can just do this one manually, okay, if it works. Does it work? Okay. So those are those red blazers I was talking about. And then this is First Holy Communion. And then my dad, my mom, my two sisters. This is my parents' 25th anniversary. So just do it manually, okay. And then we looked very much alike. And then some family members. And then Father came to the blessing of the church, and Rosamond. In his first parish, he was there for about 5 years, I think, Sacred Heart in Akron. So Bishop McKenna was a Dominican. He passed away. God rest his soul. He ordained us, and Bishop Hieronymus, of course, is our bishop. And then he had Mass at Sacred Heart in Akron, Ohio, Sulphur Springs, Ohio, and then St. Joseph in Wayne, Michigan. And then this is with the church in Middleville. He said Mass there. It started out like this, and then he changed it to this, and it's even more beautiful now. And then he also said Mass in London, Ontario. So that was before, and it's even nicer now. Okay, so he bought this Protestant church, and this was a Lutheran church, Free Action Apostolic Church, and this is what it kind of looked like when he bought it. And then that's what it looks like now. So he's got a choir loft and a cry room, confessional, etc. Okay, he's got two that came from his parish. That are one is Father Adam Craig, right here as a deacon at the time. He's now a priest, and then Frater Martin. He's a CMR religious. He's in the seminary right now, so he'll be ordained pretty soon. Okay, there's a number of religious in my family. This is Monsignor Andrew Radecki, my grandfather's brother. He was at St. Casimir's Parish in Cleveland, and I think they had in the grade school like over 1,000 children. And then Father Al Radecki, he's a cousin. He said the Latin Mass for a long time, and then finally went into the new Mass. This is Sister Rita Jane Radecki. She's a Franciscan. I think she entered when she was about 18 years old. And then this is Sister Mary Cabrini, a Dominican. And then this is Sister Gertrude. She's my cousin's daughter. She's with the bishop's CMD nuns in Omaha. And then this is Frater Alphonsus. He's also a relative. He's going to be ordained in about a year and a half. So okay, Father Francisco, you love race cars and stuff. So this was at the Peterson Museum, and then Carol Shelby was there. And of course, he passed away. I saw him on his deathbed. He was at UCLA Medical Center. And then he gave $10,000 to my brother for his school. And then his friend was Baron Hilton, who runs the Hilton Hotels. He gave $10,000 for his school. So, but anyway, this is the Ford Museum. Ford Photography had special pictures with my brother there. And then, okay, of course, this is a Ferrari F40. Um, uh, this man, my brother and I, he didn't let us drive it, but anyway, we were inside then. Does anybody here have a gray Lexus with a, it says Mount St. Mary's on the front and then God We Trust in the back? Okay, can you move that? You have to park it in the parking lot, but that space has to be open. Okay, and we both learned to fly helicopters, um, so I've flown a Bell 206B L4 Long Ranger, a 407, a 412, and a 222, and then a Bell Jet Ranger. And then it was my anniversary of ordination, and then this helicopter place near Detroit let me fly from Detroit to Lansing and back with dual control. So, and then and then Father Francisco has flown a lot of helicopters too. And then this is with Niagara Helicopters. They paid for a flight and ground school. So, and then he had dual control, so we got to fly with these pilots. The instructor, Charlie Clark, was a Catholic. He's from Texas, because that's where Bell Helicopters from Fort Worth. His grandfather was a Catholic in Texas and was hung because he was a Catholic. But anyway, later Charlie got real sick, so I flew to Texas, and then we said Mass for him and gave him the last sacraments. He's passed away. And then this is with WJR Radio in Detroit. The pilot knew Father Francisco real well, and he took him up flying and stuff. And he got sick later, and then he was received the sacraments. Okay. And then just recently, I guess a few weeks ago, my brother flew this Bell 430, and the pilot, let him. And then here's another flying over his school, and then he had the kids from his school and stuff, and then he was able to land it too. Okay, and then Father and I have scuba dived. There's a lot of stress being a priest, so living in California is like swimming with sharks. So I thought, okay, why don't go shark diving? So here's a hammerhead, and then I'll show you. There's some. Here's a ray. Then I'll show you the tiger sharks and stuff. Okay. So that's a tiger shark, and then this looks like Father's been eaten by a ray, but. And then he's got these in his school. There's great whites and makos and dolphins, and here's a hammerhead. And then, this is as novices. We serve Mass, and then Father's first Mass, and then we received our chalices and my first Mass. And then with St. Joseph's Media, okay, we started with audio recordings, and then we've gone into books and all kinds of other things. So it's in all 50 states and 101 different countries. And then we're writing our last book together. Our first book was What's Happening in the Catholic Church, so we're going to have a 2023 edition. He's just proofreading it. And then it's going to be printed very soon. So, can you go back? Okay, so we have a Latin Mass DVD, and we started out with What's Happening in the Catholic Church, and then this has the 20 general councils of the Church, and then Vatican II and its aftermath, and then we have Vatican counterfeit Catholicism, and then an abridged version, and then now we're doing this other one together. And then these other ones my brother's written himself. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. And then this is his school. So he started out with, they rented these modular buildings. He got them for $1 a piece from the county or the city, and then they built this school. So it was a sandwich shop, but it was a mess. They tore off 3 of the walls, and they almost completely rebuilt the whole thing. Somebody donated the brick, and they're all different colors, but it didn't matter, so because you paint it. And then here's Father and I in the modular buildings, but now he's got a school. And then they were with the Nationals with archery. I think here's a magic show with the kids over there. And then activities with the kids. Just close with this. Can you go back just 1 second? Father Francisco, siblings are competitive, but twins are on a whole different level. So anyway, we went to skiing in Lake Tahoe, and then we raced down, from about 10,000 feet. And anyway, we ended up in a tie. So that was good. If I can't win, then we tie. That's good. Okay, so that's it. I'm sorry we took longer than I thought, but we'd be with the blessing of children and the blessing of items. So we'll still start Mass on time. So we're going to have to see the movies. Maybe next Sunday. Yeah, let's do it next Sunday.